Hey everybody! Deer season was good to me again this year, and while that meat's gonna be hanging for a week or two, I brought home the liver to eat fresh. So today I'm making this venison liverwurst that some of you are gonna love. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the meats I'll be using today. And this is the first time I'm making this sausage, so I had to hit the books as well as a lot of online resources. And I looked at several different recipes, and I took bits from some recipes and then added in a bit of my own flavor, and therein lies the beauty of making your own. I know it bothers a few of you, but I am going to be using metric measurements again today. It just makes the math a lot simpler when you're weighing the meat and the spices as opposed to using cups and spoons. I will do my best to do the conversions in the recipe down below, but I do encourage you to embrace the metric system if you're going to be doing things like this, and trust me, it will make your life simpler. So for today's recipe, I have 1 kilo of venison liver, 1 kilo of pork shoulder, and 1 kilo of bacon. Nice and simple. Now for this recipe, I'm gonna start by actually cooking the pork. So I'm gonna cut it into some pretty big chunks, and then I'm gonna simmer it for about an hour until it starts to get a little bit tender. Since I'm using bacon, I don't think I want to cook it that long, so I'll add it in for the last 15 minutes or so, really just to kind of pull out some of the salt so it doesn't throw off my measurements, and it'll tenderize it just a little bit. While the meat is simmering away, it gives me some time to prepare my onions. And apologies to my onion hater out there, but liver and onions do make the sexiest bed mates. So I've got my pan going, medium-low heat. We'll toss in a healthy amount of butter. Now I have 2 medium onions here. Give those a little pinch of salt. Now I'm going to cook these onions down low and slow for probably 20 to 30 minutes. I'm really going easy, just kind of sweating them down. I don't want to hear a lot of sizzling going on in here. I'm not trying to fry these. I just want them to wilt and then cook way down until they take on a nice caramely color. Well, I could keep cooking these way down until they were next to nothing and really dark colored, but I think right about here is good for my purposes today. And now here is a little twist of my own. It's something I do when I make liver patés, so I figured it would be really good in this as well. I am going to pour in 1/2 cup of apple brandy, and you could use Applejack or Calvados. This is just some inexpensive apple brandy. Be careful, that could flare up on you if you're using a gas stove or if you got the heat up too high. And now I'm going to bring the temperature up to medium. And I'm going to cook that brandy down until there's really next to nothing left of it. I just really want that sweetness from the brandy and that appley flavor. That should be pretty good. Now we're getting down there. Ooh, yummy. There we go. I'll just set this aside and let it cool down. Let's take a look at the spices I'm using today, and this is one where you're gonna lean on the warming spices, those kind of aromatic and sweet tasting spices, you know, the real Christmassy stuff. Now let's get started right here with 6 grams of white peppercorns. and that's around 2 teaspoons when they're whole peppercorns, but that's going to be different if they're pre-ground. And that's why I like to weigh out all my spices, because 1 gram of whole peppercorns is the same as 1 gram of ground peppercorns. Here I've got 3 grams of marjoram. This is in flake form, so I'm going to grind it down further to a nice powder. It's about a tablespoon like this, but it's going to be about 1.5 teaspoons after I grind it. I've got 1.5 grams, or about 3/4 of a teaspoon of ground mace, and you could substitute nutmeg in here if you like. And this is 1 gram of allspice berries. Now I'm going to be using 54 grams of plain salt, and this is 5 grams of pink cure number 1. So I've got my whole spices here in the coffee grinder, and now I'll just grind those down till they're really fine. I'll just go ahead and mix all those seasonings together, and even the cure will go in there. Alright, let's go ahead and take those pork shoulder chunks out of there. Now we'll just set these aside and let them cool down. They are nice and tender now. Now I'm going to swap out, put that bacon in there. And I think I'll just simmer this for 10 or 15 minutes. Like I said, I'm just going to pull out some of the saltiness and tenderize it just a little bit more. Oh yeah, that's nice and tender now. We'll just scoop that right there with that pork. Now let me turn my attention to this liver over here. I feel so lucky to have gotten my deer this season. It was tough out there, really hot and dry. So it was just a little guy, but I didn't think I was going to see anything else, so I took my opportunity. Now I'm going to separate the lobes of this thing. Take off any of the hard bits there. And now, if you're squeamish, you might want to look away. I'm going to try and pull the membrane off of here. There we go. Now I'm going to poach the liver just for a few minutes. And this, they say, will kind of give it a milder taste. So we'll just let this simmer 5 minutes and then we'll take it out. Wow, isn't that pretty? Alright, let's take this out of here. I'm actually going to cool this under some cold water so it doesn't overcook, because overcooked liver is bad liver. Alright, let's get our grind on, and you're going to use the finest plate you have, and I'm going to grind the liver and the pork separately. So let's get started with the liver, and I got a feeling this is going to be pretty gory. And now the bacon and the pork, and I got a feeling that's going to be a little prettier. And now we're going to emulsify the sausage. I know there are a lot of steps to this one, but if it works out, it should be worth it. And we're going to start with the liver. And the liver has enough fat and water in it that it doesn't need anything added to it to emulsify. So we'll get this in here, and then we'll just spin this around on high until that stuff gets a little paler in color and kind of fluffy. There we go. You can see it's gotten kind of lighter in color. That's that air that's whipped into there. And it's mostly all one even color and nice and smooth. Now, I'm going to get the meat blended into there, but I'm going to have to do some batch work, so I'm going to take about half of this out of there first. Certainly smells right. Alright, so now I'll do my second batch and then we'll stuff up some sausage. Alright, let's get this stuffer loaded up. And this is going to be pretty messy. I'm just going to get in there. I'll try to put it in there, avoiding any big air bubbles. Ooh, this is a sloppy sausage. I don't have the legit liverwurst casings because this is kind of spur of the moment. So I'm just going to use these red fibrous casings. I think they're going to work out fine as long as I tie that top up real nice and tight. And these just take a little bit of a soak in water, but make sure you check the instructions on your casings because some do take longer. And I don't think I'm going to need you today, little buddy.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Now, just like when I do any sausage, there's going to be a lot of this mix stuck down here in the lower part of this. The cool thing about this sloppy guy is that I can get that out of there, and you can put that in a clean canning jar. Yeah. I'm just going to fill that up to the bottom of the threads there. Ew. Pack that down real good. And we'll clean those threads off really well. I'm sure I could have figured out a nicer, neater way of doing that. But you can do them all in jars if you want. No casings needed. And we'll just seal that up. Not super tight, just snug. And that can go right into the water bath with the sausages. Okay, this is a poached sausage, so I've got my water bath heated to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm only setting this to 180 so it goes a little faster, but if you want to set your water bath to 160, you can throw these in there and be assured that they're never going to overcook. So what I'm going to do is put them in at 180, and then after they set up a little bit, maybe in 30 minutes or so, I'm going to come down and I'll put a temperature probe in one of these guys, and then I'll continue to poach them to that internal temperature of 160. Hot. And I know this water bath is kind of a specialized piece of equipment, but as long as you can keep track of your water temperature, you can do this right on the stovetop, no problem. That's how I used to do it. All right, right down into the center. We're already at about 150 and it's only been 30 minutes, so these little guys are going to go pretty quick. Now I can see now that even though this probe here is showing me that I'm at 161, on this one I'm still not quite to 159. There I go, right now 159, and I'm going for 160, so I'll give this a couple of more minutes to get up there. So it's always good to double check with a good handheld. If you want to get one like this, just check below in the comments and there is a link, and if you use my code, you can save a little money on that. Alright, now we've hit the right temperature. And so I'm going to go from the hot water right into a cold water bath. Usually I use ice water, but I don't have any ice here today, so I'm going to take this over to the sink and just let cold water run over these for about 15 minutes. Really want to get that core temperature dropping. And now we're going to give these guys just a brief hang here in the sausage closet, just enough to dry out those casings, and then we'll pop them into the refrigerator overnight, and we'll try them out tomorrow. Check out that bite. Nice. All right, first of all, if you don't like liver or liverwurst, then this is obviously not a recipe for you. But now for you liver eaters, the flavor is spot on. The deer liver is a little stronger in flavor than veal or pork, but it's complemented very well with the onions and the spices, and there's just a little bit of sweetness from that apple brandy. It's a really nicely flavored liver sausage. Now let's talk about the texture. You see it's ground and blended very well. There's a good consistency with the grain, or lack thereof, all throughout the slice. I would like this to be a little softer though, and now that I think about it, I should have used more fat. I'm guessing the deer liver is lower in fat than a farm-raised animal, and I should have compensated by adding more fat, probably just by using the fattier end of that pork shoulder, or by adding in more bacon and less pork. Either would work, and would give this a softer, more spreadable texture. But that is a very small gripe, and an easily fixable one the next time I make this. And there definitely will be a next time. In fact, I'll probably make this with all my deer liver going forward, because this is delicious and just a hair off perfect. So, good luck out there, and thanks for watching. Looks like chocolate mousse. Sure doesn't smell like it though.